If you're planning to buy a new fridge in 2026, slow down. A lot of models look perfect in the store, but once they're in your home, the cooling issues, weak parts, and repair costs start showing up fast. And remember, a refrigerator isn't something you replace. Every year, most families use the same one for 4 to 5 years, or even 10 years. So, choosing the wrong brand doesn't just waste money once, it becomes a long-term headache. Today, we're breaking down the brands and models that cause the most trouble so you don't bring home a fridge that looks modern but performs poorly. At number 10, we're starting with the Amana Budget lineup. These models are popular because they're usually among the most affordable options in big stores. For light use or a backup fridge, they can be fine. But when you rely on them as your main refrigerator, the limitations begin to show, especially over a few years of daily use. The first thing many owners notice is the overall build quality. The shelves and bins can feel a bit light, and they may flex more than expected when storing heavier items. The door gaskets on some models also lose their tight seal over time, which can lead to uneven temperatures inside. That means part of the fridge might feel colder than the rest, and you end up adjusting settings more often than you'd like. Another thing people mention is noise. Budget models don't always have the same insulation or motor quality as mid-range units, so you may hear more humming, clicking, or vibration during normal operation. It's not harmful, but it can be distracting in smaller kitchens. Cooling performance is decent for basic use, but when the fridge is full or the room temperature gets warm, it may struggle to keep a steady level throughout the day. Freezers on some units can also develop light frost if the door isn't closing tightly. None of this is a major failure, but it affects day-to-day convenience. Long-term consistency is the biggest concern. Some owners report years of smooth use, while others see small issues like temperature swings or minor part replacements. This uneven reliability is the main reason this lineup stays at number 10. In short, Amana budget models offer simple cooling at a friendly price, but if you want stronger build quality and steadier performance for long-term daily use, you may want to look further up the list. At number 9, we have Frigidaire's budget refrigerators. These models are common in big stores because the price looks friendly and the layouts feel simple. For light use or a small household, they work fine. But when you rely on them as your main fridge, some patterns start showing up. The biggest issue is moisture control. Many owners report light water buildup around the gaskets or under the drawers, which can lead to smells and quick food spoilage. Cooling is also less steady compared to other brands. One shelf might feel cold while another feels warmer, which becomes frustrating when you're storing a full week of groceries. Build quality is another weak point. The drawers and shelves are usable but don't feel very strong, and they tend to jam or loosen over time. Noise levels can vary too. Some units run quietly while others develop small hums or rattles as they age. Long-term reliability is mixed. Some people get a few smooth years while others deal with small but frequent issues like uneven cooling or the freezer frosting more than expected. Nothing here is extreme, but it's inconsistent. Overall, Frigidaire's budget lineup is fine for light use or backup spaces, but if you want steadier cooling or a stronger day-to-day performance, the models higher on this list tend to offer a more consistent experience. That's why Frigidaire lands at number 9. Suitable in certain situations, just not the top choice for most kitchens. At number 8, we have the basic Whirlpool models. Whirlpool is a familiar name in the US, and many people trust it because the brand has been around for decades. But the budget-friendly versions you usually find stacked at big stores in the $800 to $1,000 range don't perform the same as Whirlpool's higher lines. These cheaper models keep things simple, but that also means the build quality feels lighter. The interior shelves can flex when you load heavier items, and the door bins aren't as sturdy as what you get on stronger models. In warm kitchens, the freezer may take a little longer to stay cold, especially during summer months. The cooling system itself is fine, but the overall experience feels basic. The controls look older, the interior lights aren't very bright, and the temperature can shift if the fridge is opened often. It's not unreliable, but it doesn't offer that steady, strong performance people expect when buying something meant to last several years. For small households, rentals, or a second fridge, Whirlpool's entry-level units can work well. They're simple to maintain and easy to operate. But if you're shopping for your main kitchen fridge and want stronger parts, better stability, and smoother cooling, the options ranked above this one deliver a more balanced experience for the long run. At number 7, we have Haier, a familiar name in many households because of its simple designs and budget-friendly prices. Haier refrigerators often look neat on the outside, and for light use, they usually perform just fine. But when you look at day-to-day performance and long-term stability, Haier shows a few limits compared to the higher-ranked brands on this list. The biggest thing buyers notice is the cooling consistency. Haier units generally keep food cold, but the temperature inside can shift more during hot weather or when the fridge is opened often. This doesn't cause major problems right away, but it means you may need to adjust settings more often than you would with stronger models. Another area where Haier feels more basic is the build quality. The shelves and drawers are lightweight, which keeps the price low, but they can feel less sturdy in a busy kitchen. Many owners say they work perfectly at first but start showing small signs of wear earlier than expected. Not a deal breaker, but something to know before buying. Reliability feedback is mixed as well. Plenty of people use Haier refrigerators for years without trouble, while others mention smaller issues like fan noise, light frost buildup, or doors needing adjustment. These aren't major failures, but they do separate Haier from the more stable brands higher on the list. Overall, Haier is not a bad option. It's a practical choice for apartments, rentals, dorms, or homes where the refrigerator won't be heavily packed. But if you want firmer cooling, stronger materials, and better long-term confidence, the models above it deliver a smoother experience. That's why Haier sits at number 7, workable for lighter use, but not the top choice for a busy main kitchen. GE is a well-known name, and their higher-end refrigerators still hold up well, but at the lower end of their lineup, the experience is mixed. The big selling point is the brand reputation, and many shoppers pick GE because it feels dependable. And yes, the core cooling system is usually solid. GE still makes compressors that last longer than many similar-priced brands, but the trade-offs show up in the details. The inside of these budget models feels lighter and less sturdy than you'd expect. Door bins flex easily, shelves can feel thin, and the overall build has a basic, older-style design. The cooling performance is steady, but it can take a little longer to recover when you load in warm groceries or open the door frequently. It's nothing dramatic, just not as responsive as the fridges ranked higher. The controls on these models also feel dated. The temperature settings work fine, but the interface is very simple, with minimal features and slower adjustments. Owners often mention that the fridge runs reliably, but doesn't feel modern in day-to-day use. For many households, especially smaller families or quieter kitchens, GE's budget units can still work well. They're not flashy, but the core cooling stays stable over the years. The downside is that you're giving up build quality and modern features to get that reliability. That's why GE lands at number 6. Steady cooling and trustworthy basics, but a simpler interior and older design compared to the stronger picks ahead. Number 5 is Hisense, a brand that has grown fast in the US over the last few years, especially because their refrigerators often look large, modern, and affordable. For many shoppers, the price alone makes them feel like a great deal. And to be fair, Hisense does offer spacious interiors, decent temperature control, and energy use that's usually better than some older American brands. For everyday use, they can work well enough, but the concern with Hisense is consistency. Some units run smoothly for years, while others develop small issues earlier than expected. Owners sometimes report louder fan noise, doors that loosen over time, or cooling that becomes less steady after the first year. None of these problems are dramatic on their own, but they can add up if you're expecting long-term stability. The interiors also feel a bit lighter compared to the sturdier brands higher on this list. The drawers can stick, and the plastic shelving doesn't always feel as strong, something you notice more when the fridge is fully loaded. For families who store a lot of groceries, this can be a small but daily inconvenience. Overall, Hisense gives a lot of size for the price and can be a smart pick for apartments or smaller homes. But if you want a fridge that feels more stable and predictable over many years, the models models ranked above offer a stronger long-term experience. That's why Hisense sits comfortably at number 5. Good value, but not the most dependable choice for your main kitchen. Number 4 is Insignia, Best Buy's in-house refrigerator brand. It's one of those options that immediately catches your eye because of the price. The units look clean, the layout is simple, and for many shoppers, it feels like a practical choice. If you're on a budget, it's easy to think this should be enough for everyday use. But once you look a little closer, you start to see why Insignia doesn't perform as strongly as the brands ranked above it. The internal build is lighter than it appears. The drawers glide well at first, but they're not as sturdy, and the shelving can feel flexible when fully loaded. For a quiet kitchen or occasional use, this may not be an issue, but in a home where the fridge is open dozens of times a day, these lighter materials can wear faster. Temperature control is another area where the experience can vary. Most units cool reliably, but the airflow isn't always as even as you'd expect. One shelf might feel colder, another slightly warmer. It's not a serious flaw, but it means Insignia requires a bit more attention when arranging food. Owners also report mixed long-term results. Some have smooth, trouble-free use, while others encounter small inconveniences like louder fan noise or frost showing up sooner than expected. These issues don't stop the fridge from working, but they do affect how dependable it feels over several years. Overall, Insignia can be a helpful option for a rental, a dorm, or a second fridge in the garage. But if you're looking for something sturdy enough to anchor your main kitchen, with stronger parts, steadier cooling, and better long-term comfort, the brands above this ranking offer a more reliable experience. That's why Insignia lands at number 4. Number 3 goes to LG's budget refrigerator lineup. And this is where the list starts shifting into the better choices. Compared to the brands below, LG already offers more polished cooling, smoother operation, and a cleaner overall design. For everyday use, most households will find these models comfortable and easy to live with. But the budget LG line isn't the same as their premium models. The cooling is generally steady, but it can be a little slower to recover after the door has been open for a while. It still keeps food cold, just not with the same strength you'd see in pricier LG units. Inside, the layout is well planned, but the materials are lighter than what you get from their higher-end series. Drawers glide smoothly, but they don't feel as solid. For small families or lighter use, this won't matter much. For bigger households that open the fridge constantly, you may notice the difference over time. Where LG does stand out is efficiency and day-to-day comfort. The temperature controls are simple, the noise levels are usually low, and most people enjoy a trouble-free experience for years. These strengths alone put LG clearly ahead of the earlier brands on this list. Still, the budget lineup isn't perfect. Some owners have mentioned occasional temperature shifts or a fan that becomes a little louder with age. These aren't major failures, just small reminders that this is the more affordable side of LG's catalog. Overall, LG earns the number 3 spot because it offers a more refined experience than the brands below it. It's a comfortable choice for most households with better stability and smoother cooling, just not quite as strong or as consistent as the top 2 picks on this list. At number 2, we have Midea, a brand that has become very common in stores across the US. A lot of people choose Midea because the prices are friendly, the designs look clean, and the cooling performance is usually better than the lower ranked options we've already covered. In fact, one of the main reasons Midea sits this high on the list is because it delivers more stable day-to-day cooling than brands like Insignia, Frigidaire, or Amana. But Midea still has a few things worth paying attention to. The first is the build quality. While the shelves and drawers are stronger than most budget picks, they're still lighter than what you'd get from the higher tier brands. They hold up fine for regular use, but in a busy family kitchen, you may notice small signs of wear earlier than expected. Cooling performance is generally consistent, and that's why Midea ranks better than the previous brands. Most models keep temperatures steady without much adjusting. However, some units show small variations in the freezer or slight fan noise after a couple of years. These aren't major failures, but they're reminders that Midea is still a budget to mid option, not a premium one. Long-term reliability is mixed, but better than the brands below it. Many owners use their Midea fridge for years without major issues. Others report minor inconveniences like a louder compressor or frost on the back panel. Still, compared to the earlier entries on this list, Midea holds up more consistently and performs closer to what most households expect from an everyday refrigerator. Overall, Midea earns the number 2 spot because it offers stronger cooling, steadier performance, and better value than the brands below it. It's not the toughest or quietest fridge on the market, but for the price, it delivers more reliability and fewer surprises. Number 1 is Samsung's lower price refrigerator lineup, the models that attract the most attention in stores because of their clean design, bright displays, and modern features. On the shelf, they look like the best deal in the aisle, and to be fair, Samsung's layout, lighting, shelves, and styling are some of the nicest in this price range. That's why so many shoppers choose them. They feel premium right away. But compared with the other brands on this list, the budget Samsung models show the most mixed long-term feedback, especially when it comes to everyday performance. Some households use them for years without issues, while others report things like temperature fluctuations, ice maker interruptions, or louder fan noise appearing earlier than expected. These problems don't happen to everyone, but they show up often enough that it's something to keep in mind when choosing a fridge you plan to keep for 5 to 10 years. The cooling system is where the difference becomes most noticeable. During normal use, most units stay cold without trouble, but the temperature can sometimes shift more than the steady, consistent performance you get from the higher-ranked brands. In busy kitchens or during warmer seasons, this inconsistency is easier to notice, especially in the fridge's top shelves and door bins. Build quality is a similar story. The shelves, doors, and drawers look sleek, but they may feel lighter compared with sturdier brands above it on this list. For light or moderate use, that may be fine. For larger families who open and close the fridge dozens of times a day, the wear shows up faster. None of this means Samsung's refrigerators are always a bad choice. Their designs are among the nicest. Their energy use is efficient, and many owners appreciate the smooth digital controls. But when we compare everyday cooling, long-term consistency, and the number of small service calls reported, Samsung's budget lineup tends to fall behind the more stable options we ranked earlier. That's why it sits at number 1 on this list, not because it fails for everyone, but because the day-to-day reliability varies more than the other brands here, making it a model you'll want to examine carefully before choosing as your main kitchen fridge.